Welcome, everyone, to the Life of a Marketer podcast. We air it on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11 something, never on the hour because everyone does that. So we try to release it a little bit after the hour. And you can catch us on YouTube, any social media. We stream it so you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. If not, you'll see us on Instagram, LinkedIn, etc. And today's guest is his full name is Emanuel, but he likes for us to call him E. Is an interesting character. He's got an interesting background. He was a professional basketball player. He's actually the second professional basketball player we've had in a row for an interview. But I'm going to let you take it away. Tell us about who you are and what you do.
Sure. I just wanted to say thank you so much, Jed, for having me on. I'm super excited to talk about myself and also talk about Levitate and talk about marketing. So a little bit about me and how I got started. I essentially break up my life and my career into two chapters, right? That's like the best book ever, right? Only two chapters, but it's still super interesting. So my first chapter would definitely have to be basketball. I think that my approach to the game, which is consistent hard work, integrity, and also consistent self-improvement is a lesson that I learned while playing basketball, while playing against some of the best, and also playing the best at my worst, which is something that you have to do as a marketer. Another thing I didn't realize as I was playing sports is that I was essentially getting, I would say, a PhD. You could limit it however you want or make it however you like. But I would say I received a PhD in leadership. And what that means is when you're on a team of high performers, you learn to kind of settle into a role. You learn to be a leader. You also learn to be a follower. And that's essentially what I feel like marketing is. So that's what I learned from the first chapter of my life. The second chapter of my life, which occurred essentially after a tragedy, I ended up blowing out my knee going up for an alley-oop, which I guess not everybody didn't get the memo. But when you're going up for an alley-oop, usually you should let people land instead of impeding them. And when I blew up my knee and I was in that ambulance, I realized that my life had to change. And that's when I got into marketing. I went back to school. I completed my degree. I applied for a job at Comcast Business in the marketing department. This was like way back when in 2014, 13. And my life was never the same after that. And throughout my whole career, I worked my way to the top of my field in under 10 years. And then I went into business for myself. And what I strive to do at Levitate, my marketing agency, is I strive to help my clients find their authentic voice. Because authenticity is what sells. Why? Because the bulk of marketing spend has migrated from Google Ads to social media. And if you're on social media, you cannot come across as corporate. You cannot come across as hollow or wooden. Consumers are way too savvy now. So what I do is I help small, medium, and even enterprise-sized businesses find their authentic voice with their content and with their approach to the organic side of their marketing.
Awesome. So how do you, practically speaking, pragmatically, how do you help your clients do that?
Wow. So there's a bunch of different ways. It could be SEO optimizations. It can be consulting. It could be content generation. It could be content planning. Essentially, how I approach the SEO or the organic side of things is I help my clients create what's called content products. We're not just talking about a blog. That's way too general. What is the goal of everything you write? Who is the target audience of everything you write? Those seem like two very simple questions, but a lot of the times when I speak to owners, they don't have an answer. So I help them determine the goal and the target audience and the deliberateness of every single word on their page. Okay. Another way that I help is I help automate processes. that are not interesting to the business owner. Because a lot of times when I'm working with businesses that only have 1 to 10 folks in it, a lot of times people are wearing a bunch of different hats. But just because you're good at creative design doesn't mean you're good at copywriting. Just because you're good at copywriting doesn't mean you're good at back-end website development. Just because you're good at back-end doesn't mean you're good at front-end, right? So what can we automate? What can we use AI for? What can we templatize? And what problems do you actually want to solve every day as a business owner? These are questions that you don't even get a chance to ask because you're too busy putting out fires. So essentially, I help you put the fires out and keep them out so that you can focus on what you want to do. Whether that's using AI, whether that's creating content for you, whether that's optimizing already created content, whether that's making changes to the front end or the back end of your website. I do it all.
Wow. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. E, thanks for sharing that with us.
Of course.
So changing gears a little bit, E, what's the best thing about being in the marketing industry for you?
Sorry, I missed. You said what's the best thing about? You kind of cut off there for a second.
What's the best thing about being in the marketing industry?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so you're gonna have to cut me off. I don't know if you've ever seen the Chappelle Show, but I'm gonna need a wrap it up box. So because of marketing, I don't need coffee in the morning, even though I'm drinking coffee in my Spider-Man cup here. I don't need coffee in the morning because of marketing. Why? I love solving novel problems. And when it comes to marketing, there's so many problems to solve, and problems don't necessarily repeat themselves. So it's not, oh, how do I reach this one client? It's, oh, how do I reach this one client? Or how do I reach consumers in this one target demographic on a Tuesday in May, just right now, like based on the news stories, based on what people are searching, based on what's relevant? How do I get the message, the product, the service, or my client in front of the people that need to see it? That's a problem that you have to solve consistently. And the different stipulations and the different blobs and nevers and switches, they're constantly changing because no day is exactly the same. And I am somebody who, like I mentioned before, I have a very, very what's the word here? Crystallized value system or values. Integrity, like I mentioned, constant self-improvement, right? And authenticity. So I definitely instill that in all the clients that I work with. I definitely instill that in every piece of marketing. And with that constant self-improvement, that means that I don't like solving the same problem twice. And so I like bringing order to chaos, and I like besting myself. And marketing is the best way to do that, where you also help people.
Right. Awesome. Awesome. Very good. Thanks for sharing that. All right. And so what sort of advice do you offer to those that are in the marketing industry right now?
Adapt. The only thing in my skill set that hasn't changed is my ability to accurately Google. That is the only skill that I consistently utilized with my clients. And I'll toot my own horn here. Toot. I have a 99.9% client retention rate. Why? It's not because I'm a great person. Because if it were that, then everybody would have 99% retention rate. It's because I adapt. I know what to Google. And I always tell the truth. But all of those things wouldn't matter if I wasn't able to, like I mentioned with the first one, consistently adapt to changing priorities. So just like I mentioned, everything, the reason why I love marketing is because, everything is constantly changing. Well, guess what else is constantly changing? This guy is constantly changing. I had to go from, and this is just in the last year and a half or so, I had to go from getting a certification in Google Analytics 4, which I loved. I was in GA4 with the beta. right? Oh my goodness, there's so many cool things you can do with it. I had to go from that uh, uh, to uh, learning Snappa, which is like this next iteration of Canva. It's amazing. To learning all these different AI tools, to utilizing Bard, to training my clients on how to utilize Bard, to help folks understand that Bard is not a replacement for copywriting. It's a tool that you use to remove assumptions. And if you're able to remove as many assumptions as possible throughout whether it's a content creation process or whether it's to questions that you have about how to market or what your next step should be, everything should be driven based on data. And the less assumptions you have, the more successful your marketing is going to be. I'll give you an example of an assumption. If I teach guitar in Texas, and I assume that everybody is searching for guitar lessons, and that's what I end up spending all of my time and money on, but then I go into the AI and I say, hey, Bard, because I like Bard. There's a bunch of different ones out there. You can pick one. They're all kind of the same, pulling from the same place. I'm like, hey, Bard, what are people who are interested in guitar searching in Texas? It'll give me a list. I've removed my assumptions. I could have done that through Google, but it would have taken longer. I removed my assumptions, and I see now that online guitar tutorial is actually the most searched term in Texas. So I've spent my time and money based on an assumption, and I haven't gotten the traction that I needed. And it's simply because I made an assumption. Even though I've been a music teacher for years in this hypothetical, I don't know what people are searching online. Just because you know your field doesn't mean you understand how your customers are searching. And so I know I mentioned adapting, but adapting is essentially removing assumptions. So they're both kind of the same in my eyes. But yes, marketers adapt.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. It's changes are coming more and more quickly, and you have to be able to quickly learn them. I've been trying to get started with Auto GPT and learn a little bit more about that, and that's one that's interesting. But at this point, if you're not using AI daily in your business, you are missing out.
Yes.
Something that you need to be learning. Awesome. So switching gears a little bit, what are some other successful people in marketing like yourself that you'd like to acknowledge that should be on the podcast? Totally selfish question.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So there's actually someone who has been in marketing for, I would say, close to 14 or 15 years. And just recently, her name is Sarah Bacon, and she runs Baconwood Media. And she's an excellent copywriter. She has written everything under the sun: articles, grants, white papers, blogs. But I think what makes her truly special is not just her ability to turn a phrase, but it's also her authentic approach. She follows her heart. And I think that people who might eschew authority or might eschew rules, they don't need to be thrown out as far as what they're doing. And I think that she breaks all the right rules. Obviously nothing illegal, but just she doesn't have a real care for authority. She follows her heart. And she's also a heck of a writer. My goodness. Ugh. Anyway, she's proof that I know there's been a lot. It's even referring back to the comment you made about AI. A lot of marketers are super scared. And when I say marketers, I mean specifically copywriters. They're super scared about, or not scared. I think scared is the wrong word. They're cautious about AI and how it's going to affect their job. And if people need to connect with humans and they need to hear an authentic voice, AI writing is not going to do that because AI writing is impartial. AI cannot have emotions. So if writing is strictly factual without emotions, how are you going to connect with the reader? So writers now are at a precipice where if you're not utilizing AI as part of your strategy, like you mentioned, you're going to be left in the dust, right? And Sarah is somebody who's definitely like understands that, and she uses it to bridge some gaps, but that human element, it's still there. Not only is it there, but it shines through. And so if you're having trouble connecting with your target audience, check out Bakeland Media. Check out
Awesome,
Sarah.
awesome, awesome. All right, we're probably going to invite her on the
Oh,
podcast. Hope we get her. That sounds good. All right. So one final question. This one is just for fun. Tell me the oldest technology you remember using.
okay. Okay. So I need you guys to close your eyes for me, all the listeners out there.
I'm going to close my
Andy,
eyes. Here we go. All
yes,
right.
close your eyes. All right. I want you to imagine you're on the couch. It's Saturday afternoon. Okay. Sorry. Yep, Saturday morning. Cartoons are coming on. You're eating your Cookie Crisp, right? And in between when the cartoon goes to commercial break, I almost forgot the word commercial because I haven't seen them in like 10 years. Thanks streaming services. But and it comes on. Now I don't know if you remember this. It's called a yak back. Okay? A yak back. The commercial is probably on YouTube, but the yak back is a small recording device geared towards kids. You would hold the button and say something, press another button, and then repeat it. And the commercial is so vivid that I still remember it, and I haven't seen it in 25 years. The commercial has a kid, and his older sister is on the couch, and she's like sitting with her then boyfriend, and he plays some quote, "Stop drooling on me," which is what the sister said to the dog earlier in the commercial. He plays that, and the boyfriend gets up and is like, "Oh my god," and the kid is laughing behind the couch. It is so poignant because I thought that was so real, but when I got it and I realized it was like it sounded like a robot. You could barely make out the words, but it didn't matter because I was a secret agent now, and I could record everything. Oh my goodness, I spent hours playing with the Yak Back, and I think I broke it because I think I tried to throw it under the roof or something. I was a dumb kid, but ultimately, man, it was an amazing toy, and they do not make toys like that anymore, where they just lie to you in a commercial, and then like you get it, you're like, well, you don't even care because you went to KB Toys and you got to like or Toys R Us, you get to see all the toys. Anyway, yeah, Yak Back. Look at that commercial. It's probably aged horribly, but it still has a place in my heart.
Right after this interview, I'm going to look that up. I remember that, I think. Oh man, that's a great answer. That's a great answer. We try to keep our podcast short. You were a heck of an interviewee. Enjoyed it. Very animated. One of our best interviews so far. Thanks for jumping on the podcast. And once again, if you want to catch our podcast, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. We do stream it on Tuesdays and Thursdays at around 11. You can catch us online, typical social media outlets, LinkedIn, Facebook, and please subscribe to our channel or hit the like button and help us out if you're a marketer or if you're just someone who likes to listen to these podcasts. And that'll help us to get this out there and get more marketers on the podcast. This has been the Life of a Marketer podcast. Over and out. Thank you.